It's week 7 of my Summer with Lisa Kleypas challenge, and this week we are starting the Hathaways series. Very exciting. Hi, my name's B. Welcome to my channel. Mama needs to read romance because nobody in this book is going to make me chase them when I need to put sunscreen on them. Okay, so I've got Mine Till Midnight, Seduce Me at Sunrise, and Tempt Me at Twilight. There are 2 more main books. There's also a little novella in the series, but I need to get the other 2 from the library. So we're working on that. I don't own any of them outright yet, unfortunately. So Mine Till Midnight. We have Amelia, who's the eldest sister of the Hathaway family. She is very much in charge. She's like the replacement mom because both of their parents passed away, unfortunately. And she is busy trying to clean up the mess that is her younger brother, Leo, when she encounters Cam Rohan. Cam Rohan, he is the one from Devil in Winter. He is a Rom, which is like half gypsy. He's also half Irish. And Mary Jane Wells, who narrates The Devil in Winter, she gives him this Cockney accent and just makes him so sexy. And Rosalind Landor in this book, not so much. She kind of portrays him as kind of a lofty British guy, just like any other British guy, which is sort of unfortunate because I really wish he could have had that same sort of cool Cockney accent. It would have been nice, but nothing can be perfect, I suppose. In any case, this book is tremendous and I cannot wait to read it. I hope you'll join me. After this part, there are going to be some spoilers. As I'm reading throughout the week, I'm going to be updating you on what I'm reading about. I'm also going to tell you at the end, I believe, I'll tell you at the end, what I believe is the love theme for Amelia and Cam. I'll give this one a rating as well. So let's get started. So I just finished the first 40 minutes of Mine Till Midnight, and I'm listening to it at 1.5 speed, so it's like half faster, which with Rosalind Landor, that's not a problem. The last we saw of Cam Rohan was in Devil in Winter in 1843, and now in Mine Till Midnight, it is 1848. So we are 5 years later. Cam is approaching or has just had his 30th birthday. He's around 30, and he's older and wiser, and he is finding that life just doesn't hold any magic for him anymore in any possible way. And he actually has a conversation with everybody's favorite, Sebastian Lord St. Vincent, about the fact that even women no longer hold any kind of excitement for him. And Sebastian does not relate to that whatsoever. In fact, he talks about how much he loves Evie, and I just love that. I just love hearing Sebastian gushing over Evie and the fact that Sebastian is in this book from the get-go. I just love it. So they're still at Jenner's, and Cam is like the head manager of the gaming club, Jenner's the gaming club, and Sebastian has made it so insanely popular. Before I go any further, let's take a look at this step back. Oh, and let me read. Okay, so it says here, 2 hearts are steeped in scandal, and love, what is it? And love is the most dangerous game of all. Look at this step back. I just love the fabric and the moonlight and how they're just outside. We know that something happens outside. Maybe if you've read this before. Or you're about to find out. Now, who is heading to Jenner's but our main character, Amelia? Amelia Hathaway. She is the eldest sister of the Hathaways. By the way, I am wearing my Hathaways shirt, and of course, Amelia is first. We also have her sister Winifred, Poppy, brother Leo, Beatrix, and then Dodger. You'll find out who that is soon if you don't already know. It's a great joke that no one gets who reads my shirt. Anyway, so Amelia is in a carriage with Maripen, who, it's amazing. We start with exposition right away. Maripen is a Romany child. Well, he's an adult now, but he was a child that they found battered and unconscious by a stream on their property when he was just a boy. And they took him in and they said that he could stay with them as long as they wanted. The family assumed that he was part of a raid gone wrong for farmers that wanted the gypsies, as they were considered, off of their land. So Maripen was just sort of left and no one ever came to claim him. And he's just stayed on with them. And he's very stoic. He's kind of gruff. And he is heading with Amelia into London towards Jenner's because they believe that's where they're going to find Leo. Leo, oh my gosh, my heart bleeds for Leo. I tell you, he is a mess. And they don't tell you why specifically, but oh my gosh, I feel for this guy so much. He has gone to Jenner's. He's used so much of their money. He's now the new Lord Ramsay. The Hathaways were like very distant branches in this family tree, and they really don't have any royal airs about them whatsoever. And yet now he's a Viscount, Leo is. And he's just basically ready to spend all of his new money drinking and just sort of getting ready to end his life prematurely. Every other Lord Ramsay, for the most part, has passed away very early, and so Leo is more than happy just to let that happen to himself as well. We will find out why soon. So Amelia goes to Jenner's with Maripen. They're trying to see if Leo is still there, and she comes across Cam. Now, Cam is, oh my heavens. As you saw in the step back, I still don't think this does him justice. He's described as having like a honey complexion. He's got like this olive skin tones. He's got hazel green eyes. He's got a diamond stud in his ear, and he wears rings on all of his fingers and even his thumbs. And he's got this sable black hair that kind of like falls into his face sometimes. And he's just got this otherworldly look about him. And my mind goes to Chocolat, Johnny Depp, from that, and I have trouble forgetting that, but it's not a problem to picture Johnny Depp and Chocolat as Cam. Anyway, Cam sees Amelia, and I love the description of Amelia as sturdy and voluptuous, which was a nice change because the cookie cutter women of the time were all these thin little wisps of women, and Cam was sort of intrigued by her immediately. He loved her red ribbon of her bonnet. He loved her just how stubborn she was, I think, although he said that he often runs away from women like her who are, they consider themselves like the heads of the family and they are bossy. He generally goes the other direction, but somehow he's really captivated by her. So against his will, she goes with Maripen to Bradshaw's, which is the brothel that has an agreement with Jenner's to share the clientele and give them discounts. So anyway, Leo is not there, but he was there, and now he's headed to a very sketchy pub. Well, Maripen goes in and gets him, and as Maripen is collecting Leo from the pub, Cam can't help but touch Amelia's face, and the chemistry between them is absolutely undeniable. There's something that they see in one another right away. They're so different, and yet there's something that they sort of recognize in each other's souls, and it's just electric. So Leo comes into the carriage. He's bloated. He looks terrible. I'm sure he feels terrible too, but he's still got kind of he's just sort of flippant and funny. And, Amelia's like, we're taking you to the country. We can't do this anymore. And she's hopeful that maybe he'll redeem himself in the country because there will be fewer places to get into trouble. But Maripen even says, look, you can get into trouble anywhere if you're looking for it. So Amelia has hope though, because she really does love her brother and she just hopes the best for him. And if you don't know already, gosh, I can't wait to see Leo happy. And I don't know that even really happens in this book, but don't you worry, you'll get his book. Another Monday, another week of farm camp for my 8-year-old. We got to spend time on the farm and no one got mauled by a farm cat. So already this week is going better than the last farm camp week, thank goodness. Anyway, oh, by the way, so I'm going to continue my theme of awkwardly showing you my shirts. I thought this one was so funny and so like me, so I had to get it. So back to the book. As you may remember, we just left off. Cam and Amelia have incredible chemistry. The electricity is crackling between the two of them, and as I pick back up, they are kissing, and it is phenomenal. He actually says to her before they part ways, I'm glad if you don't believe in fate, because I don't know if I could handle us meeting again. Because otherwise he thinks that it would be fated for them to be together, or at least to meet up again, I should say. I don't want to put words in his fictional mouth. So then we fast forward a bit, and my heart just is so happy seeing all of the Hathaways together again. I've read this series before, and this is the first time I've seen them together. It reminds me of like reading Little Women over again, where all the girls everybody's young again, and they're all together before any of them get married and part ways. And seeing all of them kind of crouched together, reading a book about the Ramsey house. Well, there's only a paragraph in the book about the Ramsey house, but they were very excited. They're heading out to Hampshire into the home that they have inherited from the most recent Lord Ramsey. And they're just so excited. And it happens to be right beside Stony Cross Park. Who would have thought? How cool is that? So we're back at Stony Cross Park. So we have Amelia, who is the in charge eldest sister. And then we have Winifred, who is just lovely. She's blonde and blue-eyed. She looks very different from the rest of her siblings. But since she had scarlet fever last year, she's become very weak, and she really has to rest a lot. Amelia has noted that Maripen loves to take care of her, and she kind of wonders what he's thinking. She thinks his feelings might be a little bit different than just a brotherly affection. So we'll find out. And then we have Poppy, who is just very sweet. She's still a teenager at this point, and at one point Amelia is brushing her hair, and she goes, "This is just how Mom used to do it." And I just thought that was so sweet. And then we have the youngest is Beatrix, who in this section of the book gets into trouble because she has a lizard, I believe it's a lizard, and it's crawling, I think, on Poppy. But she's always got a little critter with her, and there was no exception in this section. So Amelia goes for a walk through the woods and winds up walking into a science experiment, essentially. There's a rocket that's being shot off, and someone has to jump in and rescue her from potentially getting injured by this rocket. And who does it happen to be? You will never guess. Cam Rohan. He's out visiting. Sebastian Lord St. Vincent is good friends with Marcus, the Earl of Westcliff, and Cam is out there just visiting for a bit. So we get to talk to Marcus. So again, here we are. We're still really early in this book. I'm only like an hour and 40 minutes in, and we've already seen 2 of the 5 guys from the Wallflowers. So that's pretty cool. And I think I shared this in another video, but one of my awesome viewers was telling me that the reason there's never a Hathaways meets the Wallflowers in any of their books is because the Hathaways was a different publisher. So when you got the Ravenels, they're always like, the Ravenels meet the Wallflowers in those books, but you never hear about it in the Hathaways, when I feel like the Wallflowers are at least as omnipresent in the Hathaway series as they are the Wallflowers. So there you have that. Anyway, Marcus invites Amelia and her family over to dinner, and Amelia is very nervous because Leo is not on his best behavior. Wynn is not super strong. Maripen is, what was the word they used? They used a word, and I haven't heard that word in ages. I'm gonna find it, but it's so perfect for him. And I can't remember what the word was. I'm gonna find out because it was just like, oh my gosh. And later we're going to find out Beatrix has an interesting little hobby. Poppy would have been fine at least, but Amelia is very nervous about going over there for dinner. But Cam's going to be there, so that will be nice. But yeah, they are checking out their new home, the Ramsey house, and it hasn't been lived in quite a while. So there are some things that need to be fixed. Surprise, surprise. And picture a decrepit, rundown, not a cottage, it's bigger than that, a manor home, I suppose, in the woods, or next to the woods in the country. And it is just as full of character as you might expect. Surly. That's what they called Maripen. And I couldn't agree more. I looked and figured it out. Anyway, it's a good thing that Mr. Surly didn't go to that dinner over at the Stony Cross Park, because it would have been probably even more of a disaster, if that's even possible. Cam was commenting on another guest's throat clearing and some remedies she could use to fix it, which is so not done. But he didn't know that. Apparently, he is a protege of Marcus and Sebastian, so he's very close with both of them and has been coming to Stony Cross Park quite a bit. Also at the dinner, Leo basically made an enemy of Marcus pretty rapidly because he talked about how he really doesn't care about the people who live on his newfound lands, and that they've been doing well in neglect so far, and he plans to keep that up and just focus on drinking. And that went over like a lead balloon. And then Beatrix's lizard got out. So honestly, Amelia was glad when Cam grabbed the lizard, and Beatrix, Amelia, and Cam left, and they talked for quite a while before they had to go back to dinner. So Amelia was honestly glad that Beatrix had cleared the air with her lizard because things were going so poorly. The following day, they're working on cleaning up the house, and poor Wynn really wants to help out. She's feeling so stifled and bored and helpless and weak, and Amelia believes she's getting stronger, but maybe not quickly enough. And of course, Maripan won't let her lift a finger. Amelia goes up into a room that hasn't really been touched yet and goes to fix some curtain rods and ends up falling out the window. But thank heavens someone is there to grab her. It happens to be Cam, who was visiting the house for some reason, and we will find out what reason that is in the next segment. I also apologize for all of the farm videos, but that is basically our lives this week. So that's what we're doing. It's been a crazy day. We ended at the pool after going to the farm and class and everywhere else. I feel terrible. I am so sorry. I totally forgot two huge things at the dinner party in the last segment. Number one, it was adorable how Amelia was expecting Lady Westcliff to be prim, proper, perfect English lady, and it turned out to be Lillian, and they hit it off immediately, which was adorable. The other thing that was huge, Christopher Frost. He's there, and he is Amelia's ex. They were supposed to be married. I think they were supposed to be married. Anyway, they were together, and she believed they were going to get married, and then he dumps her and gets married, or he gets betrothed to another woman, like immediately, and breaks Amelia's heart. So she meets up with him, and it's just, you can just feel the pain of running into your ex and being like, oh, knowing that they moved on with someone else. But then he tells her it did not work out. And Leo immediately says, don't you even think of trying to get back with my sister. Thank goodness, because this guy seems like he's an opportunist. He does not seem like a great guy, based on the fact that he broke Amelia's heart. Okay, so moving on to the current segment, it just started chapter 11, by the way, if you want to know where I am. Remember, Cam and Amelia are in that room where she almost fell out the window. He saves her. She tells him, you know what, I got this. You don't need to be here anymore. Of course, you know, she's Miss Independent. She wants to do everything herself. He said, I'll just stay around for a couple minutes. And I'm glad he does, because as she goes to pull down the other curtain, they discover there are thousands of bees living in the wall of this bedroom. And thank goodness that Cam is there. He's cool-headed because, you know, he's very much into nature. He's still very much a part of nature. And so he calms her down, and she says, take me away. And he carries her back out of the room. And then Leo sees, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. One thing that really didn't occur to me when I read this series for the first time is the really strong bond that Amelia has with Poppy. Because after Wynn is sick, you know, she's not able to connect with Amelia and Poppy quite as much. And Beatrix is so much younger. But I'd forgotten that Amelia and Poppy were really thick as thieves there for a long time, and it was nice to see their relationship, although they are getting on one another's nerves a little bit right now. I will say they're trying to clean up the house, and then they discover Beatrix comes in. She's devastated. She has kleptomania that crops up whenever she's really stressed or there's been a big change in her life. And when they were at the dinner, she stole quite a few things from the Westcliff's house. So Poppy and Amelia go back to Stony Cross Park under the guise of trying to get together with Lillian so they can return all the items. So hopefully it wouldn't get Beatrix into trouble. So they see Lillian, and she's got little Merritt, who's just adorable. And she's probably maybe 2 or 3 at this point, and they're gonna have tea, and Amelia excuses herself to go put a lot of these items back. And you'll never believe, well, first of all, she goes into a billiards room and sees Christopher Frost, which is like, oh no, we don't want to see that. Thankfully, Cam comes out and he actually helps her put some of the items away. But he hears someone coming when they're in Westcliff's study, and he decides the only way to make it, to come up with a quick explanation as to why they would be in the study together, he plants one on her, and it's hot. And Westcliff interrupts and then says, I'm coming back in 30 minutes, and I suggest, maybe no one will be in here when I come back. So I think Cam's going to keep helping her out, but she couldn't believe how good that kiss was, and she hadn't realized until that moment how much she had thought about it since her last kiss. So, sparks are flying. So Cam and Amelia kiss in the Westcliff study, and it was really hot, but she immediately says, look, I cannot be with anyone. I'm going to be a spinster. He says that's going to dissuade me, really. Yeah, it's not going to happen. So anyway, Cam's starting to realize that his feelings for her are affecting everything, and he wants to change the course of his life. And she is nervous because she's afraid that loving him, if she does fall for him, will also change the course of her life. And she's very happy with decidedly becoming a spinster. So then we end up back at the Ramsey house, and Leo is in a room, and it is really, really cold in the room, and he's been drinking. Hold on one second, sorry. So, Leo, I don't know if he's really out cold. I almost wonder if he's dead, but it's really cold. And you get the sense that because once he wakes up, the coldness of the room starts to dissipate. Like, she could even see her breath, which makes no sense. And you get the sense like maybe there's something supernatural going on. You don't know. So then we fast forward to the local fair, and everybody's having a great time. And one of my favorite parts is when the girls are all going to buy gingerbread men, or gingerbread husbands as they're called. And the proprietor says that everybody needs to have a gingerbread husband if they're unmarried, because it's good luck and it'll mean that you'll get married. And Amelia's like, oh no, I don't need one of those because I'm not getting married. And then Cam comes up behind her and he puts way more money than the shop owner would even need in the hand, and he goes, oh, she's gonna take one. And then she turns and looks at him and takes a bite right out of the head. I thought that was great. Well, very quickly the rest of the family disappears so Cam and she can have some time alone. So Cam and Amelia go off together and they start talking, and he tells her about his backstory, how his father was an Irishman. The Irish side of the family did not like the fact that Cam's mother was a Rom. So he grew up with the Romany side of his family until he was a child, and the grandmother said, it's not safe for you anymore. We're finding work for you in the city, and we will come to collect you when it's safe. And no one ever came. But that's when he started working at Jenner's when he was like 8. And Jenner raised him, Ivo Jenner raised him as his own, although not super well, but that's why he knows Evie so well from Devil in Winter, of course, one of the wallflowers. So it was really interesting to hear about Cam's backstory. Unfortunately, they are interrupted by none other than Christopher Frost, who takes Amelia away, and then they have a very interesting conversation. He lets her... I'm sorry, this is just gonna happen. Christopher tells Amelia that he's sorry that things didn't work out, that he left Amelia in a lurch. He had promised her that he was going to marry her, basically, and then he decided that it would be better for him if he courted the daughter of the woman who owned the company that he was working in, because he felt like he didn't have job security. So marrying her would give him that. And then she decided that he wasn't for her either, and she ran off to Gretna Green with somebody else, like right away. And so he's told Amelia flat out, he said, look, I want to try to pursue things with you again. And she is not interested in doing that. And he also doesn't treat Cam very well, which she really does not like either. I loved the scene in Stony Cross Park where Marcus and Sebastian and Cam are all talking, smoking cigars, and Cam is being honest and saying, look, I don't want to work at Jenner's anymore. You're going to have to find someone else. I'm going to go back to nature. And Sebastian and Marcus both know that this is somehow about Amelia. And Cam is not ready to admit that, but both of the men know. One of the most exciting scenes comes when Beatrix and Poppy are on the floor in the Ramsey house in their like little living room area. It's in the evening and there's a fire crackling, and they're using a little lantern that Cam bought for the family as a gift, and they're playing with it, and there's this winter scene, but Leo...
I missed it!
When Amelia and Leo all see the face of a girl like coming out of this winter scene that's being projected on the wall, and it started moving and gaining like dimensions, and it looked like Laura. As in, I think what's being said at this point is the ghost of Laura is in this house and she's haunting Leo. And Leo starts freaking out and he's like, come back, come back. And he starts almost hurting the lantern. And later on, Amelia speaks with him and he's acting like, you know what, it's fine. I'm gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay. But he takes the lantern with him. And not long after that, they're all in bed, except for Leo, and a fire starts. And it's in the room where Leo had the lantern. And of course, they all believe he got drunk and has now started burning the house down. So Maripen starts pulling Leo out because Amelia can't get him. He's unconscious on the, Leo is unconscious on the floor. It's crazy. Thankfully, Christopher Frost shows up. He's there to help Amelia. And then Cam gets there. They're able to use a new device to sort of stop the fire, but there's no place for the family to stay. And I think the fire still, they're worried that it could be ongoing. So after a fight, because Christopher wanted Amelia to stay with him, they end up going to Stony Cross Park, where Maripen is not in good shape at all. The shingles were melting and they're metal and they were dripping on him. So he's got crazy burns. And Wynn is trying to take care of him as best as she can, but she inhaled maybe a little bit of smoke. And of course, you know, after her scarlet fever, her lungs aren't very good. So the two of them are like arguing over who's going to get seen first. Each of them wants the other one to be seen by the doctor first because they're both so selfless when one another is concerned. And again, it's like, I think something's going on between Wynn and Maripen. I got this at the used book sale yesterday, so now I have the complete set. If you saw my used book haul video the other day, I got the other four, and actually like these versions, a 2-in-1, which is kind of cool, I think. Or maybe it'll drive me crazy not having each of their own, but I got this one. This was the only one I needed, and I was so excited. It doesn't have a step back, but that's okay. That's okay. Anyway, okay, man, do we have a lot to discuss. Laura, how did I not bring her up before now? I am so very sorry. It's been a hectic week, so I'm a little out of sorts, and I'm so very sorry. Thank you for listening if you're still here. Okay, so Laura. Leo loved Laura. They were betrothed, and when scarlet fever struck their village, Leo got it. Wynn got it, which of course is why she's still so weak, but Laura also got it and she passed away, and he has never been the same. He doesn't want to live anymore because he loved Laura so much, and I can't wait for his book. I already know the song that I'm going to pick. It's one of those that like jumps out at you when you're not even reading the book. You're like, that's the perfect song for Leo, and you may know who. I'm not going to say. In any case, now it appears that Laura's haunting him literally, which is crazy. Okay, let's jump to babies. I loved seeing Sebastian with his daughter Phoebe. He is so sweet to her, talking about how she's his princess and how if anyone does anything to bother her, he's gonna deal with them. He's so wonderful with her. I love watching him as a father. I mean, you know how well he took care of Evie, and now he's taking just as good care of his daughter. It's just so sweet. Speaking of babies, Daisy is due to have a baby soon, so Lillian and Marcus are heading over to Daisy's house with Matthew, and they're gonna be aunts and uncles at that point, so that'll be fun. Okay, so Evie is, by the way, at Stony Cross Park with Amelia the morning after Amelia's incredible outdoor tryst with Cam. By the way, Amelia has a ring on that Cam took off of his own finger and put on her finger while she was asleep, and she can't get it off. And now everybody's wondering what in the world that means. But Evie says, okay, I have to tell you, I know Cam very well, and there's something going on. He really does have feelings for you. And so that kind of set Amelia's worries at ease, because I think she was concerned that he is sort of a player, because everyone is falling all over themselves to get a look at him, all the maids anyway. But honestly, again, Amelia is very much trying to convince herself that she's not going to be with him, that she needs to be in charge of her own family. And that's the path that she chose, and that's what she's sticking with regardless. Now, Maripin heard through the grapevine, thanks to that talkative maid, that Cam stole Amelia's virtue. So on the back terrace, they're having breakfast, and who shows up but the very rough, gruff Maripin, who proceeds to try to pummel Cam. And Cam is trying to explain, like, look, I could do everything for you guys. And I think he was telling Amelia this too. He could make sure that Wynn got seen by the best doctors. He would settle all of Leo's debts. He would get Beatrix into the finest schools. He could help Poppy with her season. He's got all this money through his good luck curse. He doesn't even want to own money because it's bad luck for a Rom to own a bunch of money, and he keeps getting so much more money all the time. So he's really excited. He said, I really want to marry you, Amelia, and I even though I know I'm taking on what did he say, a suicidal brother-in-law, and like just in general a crazy family, and now a house that's been burned down, he wants to take it all on because he believes that she is his fate. And he gives her such a beautiful speech, and then not long after that they have another gorgeous love scene in her room. And man, that guy is gorgeous. The way Lisa Kleypas describes him, woo, hot. Just like the 90-degree weather we're experiencing today. Cam really wants to marry her. She actually puts the ring back on her finger, but still, she's just saying, I don't think I can marry you. And he's like, I really want this to happen. So I think it's still a little bit up in the air, but he's going to London right now to try to figure out what they can do in terms of rebuilding the Ramsey home. So, and by the way, this might be important to note too, Leo could be helpful in this respect because he got his degree, I guess, in architecture. So he knows about building buildings. So that could be useful later on. It could also be very helpful coming up. So I just finished and it was so good. I forgot how good it was. Oh my gosh, it was crazy. So Cam goes back to the Ramsey house just to look at things before he heads to London. And who is there with a crowbar trying to get into the walls of the B room but Christopher Frost. And he says, well, I'm just trying to figure out the structure so I can know what to do and who to talk to in terms of fixing their house. And Christopher also said that Amelia asked him to do it, which she had not. Cam and he have some terrible words because Christopher plainly says, if Amelia has designs on you, then she's going beneath herself because you're a Rom. And I can't believe that you'd be willing to bring her down to your level. But Cam is saying, like, they're going to get married. I mean, he's very insistent, even though Amelia's not quite sure yet. They also, meanwhile, Maripin is doing very, very badly. Everything seems to be falling apart. Beatrix is stealing things. Poppy's kind of okay, but the rest of the family's bringing her down. So Amelia says she's never going to get married. And then Wynn is not doing well physically. Maripin is getting sicker and sicker because he's getting infections, and Leo's gone. He's disappeared. So anyway, they're trying to help. Cam has come up with a poultice to help Maripin's wounds using some of the things he learned with his Romany culture. And as they're taking off the bandage, they discover that that Maripin and Cam have the exact same puka tattoo. The one that Cam has on his forearm, Maripin has it on his shoulder, which is crazy, and they don't understand why that is. So that's something they got to figure out. It's going to be very interesting. Meanwhile, Cam decides to go find Leo. He is in some sort of private home where he's gotten a couple guys and some interesting ladies as well. They are smoking opium. They're completely naked, and Yeah, they're all a complete mess. And Cam drags him out of there. I will also say Amelia and Cam proceed to have many lovely interlude, beautiful writing. Cam is God's gift. And yeah, really good stuff. Moving along though, the big scene at the end. Amelia and Cam are not asleep in the middle of the night, and Poppy interrupts them and says, oh my gosh, Leo left a note. It sounds like he's going to end everything. So Amelia knows that Leo's going to go in the bee room and end his life, because of course there's like thousands and thousands of bees in there. And in the note he says he's sorry, but he can't see any other way because he just can't be without Laura. So Cam and Amelia rush to Ramsey House in the middle of the night, and who is in there? Not Leo, but Christopher Frost. And Christopher pulls a gun, and you realize at that point he never really liked Amelia. He just wanted to get in that house. Apparently the King James, many, many, many years ago, had a love affair with a previous Lord Ramsay, not Lady Ramsay, but Lord Ramsay, and hid treasure in the house for Lord Ramsay. Christopher wants this treasure, so he tells Cam, you don't go in the bee. It's essentially like a giant beehive where the treasure is supposed to be. If you don't go in there, I'm going to shoot her. And I think he's going to do it. I really do. So Cam starts to go in there, but then there's a scuffle and Leo shows up. He was heading there anyway. And Leo and Christopher are fighting until Christopher takes off, and then the door slams. Now, part of the reason why I think Christopher got so scared, there's this crazy light and sparks, and it gets freezing cold, and you realize the ghost of Laura is in that room. And Cam tells Leo, he says, look, you've got to let Laura go for her sake, because her ghost can't leave you if you don't let her move on. This is part of the Romany culture, things that they believe. You have to love something enough to let it go. You can't keep the ghost around. Apparently, too, Cam says if you end your own life, you are destroying both of your souls, that you're never going to find peace and be able to move on. So the only way to save Laura is to let her go. And he puts his arms around Leo, who's like huddled in a ball in the middle of the room, and it just makes you want to cry. And he just says, I can't do it. And Cam says, you can do it for her. And so he does. And all of a sudden, it's like everything just sort of dissipates and you realize she's free. And speaking of free, Amelia's concerned at the end. They're in bed together, having a lovely intimate moment, and they talk about how they are absolutely, definitely going to get married. And she says, I'm sorry that you weren't able to find your freedom. And he said, I do have my freedom right here with you. Oh, it was so good. Oh my gosh. And Cam, I mean, he moves heaven and earth to help her. And the fact that he finds his home with her, he finds his freedom with her. It's just so beautiful. And there's nothing that he wouldn't do for her, which is why I believe that the song To Make You Feel My Love by Garth Brooks is this love theme for them. I just love that song. And I love the two of them together, and how he pretty much knows from the get-go that she's his fate, but she takes some convincing. And this song is just so perfect for the two of them. I give this book 5 stars. And I just can't wait until next week when we get to learn even more about the mysteries of Maripen and what happens with his love affair with Lynn. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you're enjoying whatever it is that you're reading. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.